I, nearly adult female, used to have cancer, and I've been in remission for 2 years. It was a tough time, but I got through it. When I was 13, I was on this medication for my cancer, and it caused my belly to be bloated. I looked about 6 months pregnant and was constantly in pain with belly issues. It was a hard point, both physically and mentally, through my fight with cancer. Once when I was in the hospital, my dad and his then fiance visited me. It was when I was on that medication and I looked 6 months pregnant. I was wearing a t-shirt that was slightly small on me because of my bloating, so my belly was on full display. When my dad's fiance saw me, she said, "Wow, she looks so pregnant." My mom was there and luckily stuck up for me and ended up kicking her and my dad out. Her reasoning for saying is that she just points out what she sees. This past Saturday, I was a bridesmaid at my cousin's wedding. It was a beautiful and fun wedding. I noticed my dad and his now wife there, and I haven't seen them since his wife said that, so it's been several years. I knew they'd be at the wedding and I didn't mind. Well, my stepmom has gained some noticeable weight. I would say about 100 pounds. I usually would never comment on a person's weight gain, but I decided to be a little petty because I never forgot what she said to me when I was 13 and dealing with cancer. So I went up to them and started making some small talk. Then I looked at my dad's wife and said, "Wow, you've gained some weight." Both my dad and his wife looked shocked. I just shrugged and said, "What? I'm just pointing out what I see." I could tell by his wife's face that she knew what I was getting at. I just walked away, and the rest of the wedding was fun. For the past few days, family's been texting me, calling me a brat and an idiot for commenting on that to my stepmom. I explained to them what happened when I was younger, and they still said I was being an idiot because you don't make comments like that. Edit. Stepmom never once apologized to either me or my mom. She had some of her own medicine back. She didn't like it. Are you an idiot? Yes. Yes, you are. The best kind of idiot. A justified idiot. A grown woman saying something like that to a sick child? Yeah, no, that's a whole other level of unacceptable. Wave that petty flag high. And because stepmom has never profusely apologized and explained that she had a bad case of a brain fart and mouth diarrhea, that comment is deserved. What a petty and immature move from the stepmonster to tell this story around the family and accidentally, of course, leave out that first half. And what kind of stubborn idiots in this family are unable to change their attitude after learning the whole story? Surely they also noticed that Daddy preferred to devote himself to his new sweetheart rather than looking after his seriously ill daughter. Did they also bombard him with angry calls and messages? Then? I doubt it. We should really take a close look at who's calling you an idiot and not take the opinion of every monkey that flies along too seriously. Wait. You haven't seen them since she made that comment? You went another 2 years of cancer treatment without them? Dad? Checking in? I think you were actually too kind to them. My mom wanted her to apologize to me if they would come visit me, as long as I wanted to see them. I did want to see my dad, but she never apologized, and my dad would call about once a week. Those phone calls eventually stopped, and like I said, she never apologized. What the actual... Wow! I can't imagine how much this must have hurt. You had cancer at a young age, and I can't imagine what you've gone through. I definitely would have said worse things to her. So much worse. Don't worry about them, OP. Anyone defending your stepmother should be cut out of your life for your own well-being. I wouldn't even want to breathe the same air as them. Revenge is a dish best served cold, and that was frozen. Good for you. I, 21 female, am a university student in the U.S. My inner circle of friends has decided we want to take a trip for our spring break, as it's our last year of university, and we'll all be moving away from each other come May. A part of my family is Greek, and my uncle owns a small hotel near Athens, only 3 stories, very small rooms, and a more budget-friendly style of traveling. Anyone who has been to smaller hotels throughout parts of Europe would know what I'm talking about, but I don't know the immediate English translation for it. So I spoke with my uncle, who graciously invited my friends and me to come to Athens and stay for the week without the expense of staying, just having to pay for our flights and activities. Initially, this was just me and 3 other girls who I invited, and we were all very excited and already booked tickets for the summertime. But in the past 3 months, we've become friends with 2 other girls who have slowly joined our group, and I extended the invite to them, one being Harper, 22 female. At first, Harper was excited to come and liked the idea of not paying for the hotel, but when I showed her pictures of my uncle's hotel, she became very passive-aggressive with me. In these hotels, the only way to get to rooms is basically lots and lots of stairs. Even the hotel's location is very hilly, so lots of walking is required. The elevator is a classic European elevator where one standard-sized person will fit, but they're mainly just used for luggage. Harper is plus-sized and has chronic pains, so she could not take the stairs since she couldn't fit in the elevator. I found out from my other friend later that Harper was talking behind my back, calling me names and saying I'm only inviting her to let her be humiliated, and how inconsiderate I am for planning a trip with poor accommodations. Immediately, I called her to ask why she said this about me, and she blamed my uncle's business because the hotel not being accessible is a form of fat phobia and ableism. I explained that many of these hotels are very old architecture and standard in European travel, especially in Greece. Then she said I shouldn't defend such a disgusting culture if that is the standard. I honestly do not know how to proceed, and I think maybe there is a cultural misunderstanding. Some of my friends are saying to just apologize, but disinvite her altogether if she's taking such an issue with it. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your friend is being ridiculous. Your uncle made a very kind offer to you and your friends, including Harper. The hotel does not meet her needs, and she declined, but trying to assign evil motives to you is ridiculous. Some places in Europe are hundreds of years old, built long before the idea of accessibility came along. Yes, it seems like she'd want an old and historical building knocked down and rebuilt because some people can't go in it. She'd not be able to get up the staircases in castles either. Would she say that they were ableist too? OP, I just returned from a trip. The elevator was out, and I had to go up to the 5th floor. The narrowest staircase. It's just the norm out there. You should uninvite her. She'll be a pain to deal with during the entire trip. Jesus Christ, you are not the idiot. I'm from Europe, and these old buildings were built years ago. One summer, I stayed in Sorrento, Italy, and the lift was a death trap. You walked up the stairs. Unless your friend expects the entire nation of Greece to redesign their architecture for her especially, she'll need to walk upstairs or understand that the world is not America. If she doesn't want to, she doesn't have to go. This isn't a mandatory vacation. Also, tell her that her ethnocentrism is annoying. Your family isn't fat-phobic or ableist, but she's narrow-minded and judgmental. My sister Jess, 36, has been married to Kyle, 38 male, for 7 years. Jess has Parker, a tween male, from a previous relationship, and Kyle has Bodhi, a teen male, from his first marriage. Bodhi's mom died when he was 5 or 6. Ever since Jess and Kyle married, Bodhi's been pretty clear about not seeing Jess and Parker as his mom or bonus mom or brother. Parker adores Bodhi, though. Early in the relationship and again in the marriage, my other sister Chantal and I told Jess that she should really listen to Bodhi. Jess got this idea into her head that the boys were bonding, and Bodhi adored Parker as much as Parker adored him. Bodhi always said he was an only child, and Parker would never just be his brother or real brother. Jess didn't listen to us. She lived in this fantasy world. Last year, Parker was diagnosed with cancer. It broke all our hearts because he was so scared, and treatment has been awful for him, but he's coming out on the other side. Bodhi's feelings and relationship did not change when Parker got cancer. He's still distant and not very emotionally attached to Parker. My sister kinda noticed then, but said that she still believed Bodhi would be there for Parker if he needed him. A few weeks ago, Bodhi won tickets to an amusement park that Parker loves. He hasn't been able to go for a while because he was sick, and Jess and Kyle are financially struggling due to Parker's cancer and things they had to pay for at that time. So money's tight. Bodhi said he invited his best friend to go with him. Kyle suggested that he should take Parker, and he said no. He said he wanted to go with his friend, not with Parker. Parker had already been told about the tickets and wanted to go with Bodhi. He adores Bodhi and thinks he's the coolest guy and the best person in the world. He was crushed when he heard. Jess and Kyle sat down and talked to Bodhi about how much it would mean to Parker and how giving him something fun to do would be a kind thing, and the two could enjoy it together. Bodhi said no, and he mentioned that he left the tickets with his friend and his friend's parents, so Jess and Kyle couldn't use them how they wanted. Jess is angry. She's angry that Bodhi's being this way and has been blindsided by how little Bodhi cares about Parker's happiness and the fact he wouldn't jump at the chance for them to have a fun day together when they could have lost Parker. Chantel and her already fought over it, and Chantel told Jess she had no business hating the kid and he didn't choose this. When she came to me and asked why Chantel was so angry at her and why neither of us seemed to be shocked, I said it was because we believed him when he said that Parker wasn't his brother, and I said she should have really listened and believed him too. Jess cried and yelled at me and told me that Bodhi was a kid and is still one, and kids say things they don't mean all the time. She said we expected way too much of her. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Jess brought this on herself by never listening to her stepson and choosing a fantasy instead. I understand she wants her son to have a brother, but that isn't Bodhi's responsibility. He's been adamant since day one that that wasn't what he was going to do. And yeah, sure, kids can change their minds, just like anyone can, but they can also not change their minds. Personally, I think it was very smart of Bodhi not to keep the tickets at home, because you can guarantee that Jess would have stolen them to force Bodhi to do what she wanted him to do. He is a person, not her son's comfort toy. And don't get me wrong, I do feel awful for Parker because I can see it from his side as well. He wants a big brother who loves him, but at the end of the day, Bodhi and Parker each have a choice about their relationship. Wow, the fact that Bodhi left the tickets at a safe place, which is not his home, speaks volumes. The audacity of parents often shocks me when it comes to forced blended family relations. Is he allowed any autonomy? I just imagine how hard his life has been with everything being about Parker's cancer. It's not Parker's fault, but any decent parent would want Bodhi to have a day to decompress and have fun and do something normal. My sister's living with me at the moment. Her husband cheated on her and kicked her out. They are in the middle of a messy divorce, and she was pregnant when that happened. We made a nursery out of my office for her. She gave birth about 3 months ago, and the baby didn't make it. The problem is that I need my office back, and since the nursery isn't being used, I asked to convert it back about a month ago. It didn't go well, so we kept it there. She isn't going back to work now since she quit. This made the office problem even worse. Before I could work on the kitchen table, but I can't concentrate since she's always bothering me when I'm working. It's affecting my job. She would have been back to work by now if she hadn't quit, and the baby would have been watched by Mom. I asked again to get my office back, but it didn't go well. We got into an argument, and she thought I was a horrible person. So, am I the idiot? I need an office back, and it is my home. Edit. Mom and her don't get along well. They could come together for the baby, but they have beef. My mom told her her husband was cheating, and she didn't believe her. It was a huge argument, and when the truth came out, she blamed Mom for putting the idea in his head. I know for a fact that my mom is refraining from saying I told you so. Forcing them to live together would not be good. I don't want to even touch the not contributing part. I pay for everything alone. Hopefully she gets the house in the divorce, and it ends soon, and she's able to pay me back a bit. Not the idiot. If it was her house, that would be different. But she's a guest in your house, and you kindly converted it for her for a reason that's no longer needed. What happened is tragic, and I feel bad for your sister, but the room wasn't hers. She's quit her job and doesn't contribute, which is an issue for another time, but if I were you, I'd change it back and not ask her. You don't need her permission. OP, I don't blame you. It's a horrible situation. It's also worth noting that an empty nursery, ready for a baby that isn't coming, will only be a constant visual reminder to your sister of her loss. Put the stuff somewhere she won't see and give it back to her when she's ready if she wants it. So your sister's blaming her husband's infidelity on your mother and demanding that you maintain an empty nursery at great inconvenience to you and your career. Has your sister always made a habit of behaving irrationally? Or is this a new development brought on by her stressful circumstances? Whatever the case, encourage her to get counseling. There are often community services with sliding payment scales if she can't afford therapy on her own. There are also great support groups that could help her. Whether or not she accepts these options, if she has a history of blaming others and feeling entitled, she might not. You need to take back your office. My 33 female ex, Rick, 35 male, and I broke up 11 years ago after I caught him cheating. It was a messy break, and we haven't talked since then. Since then, we have both remarried and had kids. Surprisingly, our kids are around the same age. Mine are pre-tween and a little younger. His older two are the same, and he has a toddler. In the past year, I've become good friends with my next-door neighbors, who also have kids, a pre-tween and a toddler. Since my neighbor's oldest is good friends with both of my kids, I allow them to play on our swing set whenever they want. There's no fence between our yards, and the kid is super well behaved. A few months ago, I learned that my neighbors are close to Rick. This isn't a problem for me. They messaged me asking if Rick's kids could also come and play on the swing set. I agreed, and the kids all had a blast. It became a common occurrence. The problem started when I found Rick playing with the kids in my yard. Normally it's his wife over, and I've become friends with her. I wasn't going to pitch a fit because I usually won't tell an adult they can't be where their kids are. However, Rick has slowly tried to start talking to myself and my husband. I tolerated it at first until Rick tried to apologize for cheating. I told him I didn't want to hear it. I told him I didn't want to be friends and would prefer not to interact with him. He didn't take it well and said that I was a petty witch who couldn't let things go. I told him to leave and that he wasn't welcome on my property. I let his wife know that she and the kids were still welcome. She said she understood, and I thought that was the end of it. Well, word gets around quickly in a small town, and I'm now being bombarded with messages from mutual friends saying that I'm being petty and I can't allow Rick's family over, but not him. I tell people I don't want to deal with him, but everyone's saying that I'm in the wrong and I just need to forgive and move on or not allow the kids over. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It's too bad your generosity led to the idiot calling you names. Hold your stance. You should not be forced to continue to see someone who made your life miserable and thinks it was no big deal. And in the midst of an apology, he called you a name? That doesn't sound like an apology to me. His reaction shows that he wasn't apologizing properly. He was doing it to make himself feel better, tell people he's apologized. He isn't apologetic, and the buildup shows that this was planned. Word didn't get around. Rick shot his mouth off about the OP all over town. There is plenty of evidence that she made the right call. Frankly, I tell him and everyone else in the small town that it's not about Rick being your ex. It's about you not feeling comfortable having someone with poor moral character around your children. OP, I love fences. Fantastic things to build. It's your property. You can decide who is and isn't allowed on your property for any reason your heart desires.